I want to talk about overcoming temptation, and it could be just the small day-to-day stuff, or it could be something really big, an addiction or something like that. And I'll tell you a little bit about my story, the greatest temptation that I faced. And I'd gone through a broken relationship, and I was dumped and rejected, and I felt hurt. And at first, I tried to, just, well, that's kind of how life goes sometimes. But over weeks and months, I started wanting to hurt her like she had hurt me. And that really brought me to a place where I was thinking murderous thoughts. And it was just really, really dark spot where it was like maybe, maybe daily, maybe even hourly, I was thinking about different ways that I could hurt her as much as she hurt me, different ways I could take revenge. And so it put me in the spot where I felt just like I was dying, like spiritually dying. I'd go to church and read my Bible and things, and yet just, man, I was just in such a broken place. And yet God took me through that. And I want to share some of the things that were helpful for me in that journey. And a huge thing is this verse in 1 Corinthians 10:13. It says, "No temptation has overtaken you except what is common to mankind. God is faithful. He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. But when you are tempted, he will also provide a way out so that you can endure it." And I think sometimes our temptations are so strong, it almost feels like we're victims, like, oh, I have no choice. Just I have this struggle and there's nothing I can do, and I just get pulled down this road. And yet this verse says, no, actually there is a way out. And I just want to encourage you to stop being a victim and to realize, okay, there's a way out and I need to find that way. And this is the path that God took me down. Your steps to victory might be a little bit different than these, but one thing was just to confess to somebody. I went to my small group and said, hey, for the last couple of years, this is kind of embarrassing, but I've struggled with wanting to take revenge and kind of murderous thoughts and things. And nobody said anything particularly helpful, but I think just bringing my sin into the light was helpful for me in breaking free from its power and control. I think to quit entertaining it is huge. This verse in James 1:14-15 is very insightful. It says, each person is tempted when they are dragged away by their own evil desire and enticed. Then after desire is conceived, it gives birth to sin, and sin, when it is full grown, gives birth to death. And I think there's this idea of sin that's attractive to us, and we think it's ugly, but there's part of I kind of like energy. I like thinking about revenge. I like thinking about how, okay, well, finally I could hurt her. And I think that's the way sin is there's a part of it that we like. There's a part of it that's enticing. Our evil desires, they entice us. It's like a temptress. It's interesting. It's curious. And we like to think about it. And for me, part of breaking free from this sin was to give up my right to think about it. And whenever those thoughts would come into my mind, I would just be like, nope, I am not going to think about that. I'm not going to think about revenge. I read a quote recently that said, sin fascinates before it assassinates. Maybe that's a little cheesy, but it's like, yeah, that's kind of insightful. That's the way sin is it draws us in and then it destroys us. And I like this verse, James 4:7-8. Submit yourselves then to God, resist the devil, and he will flee from you. Come near to God, and he will come near to you. Wash your hands, you sinners. Purify your hearts, you double-minded. And I think there's this aspect of our lives that we need to submit ourselves to God. And I think in that particular sin, like for me, I felt like I needed to submit my actions, which I was already doing, but also to submit my thought life to God. And that was super helpful. But I think even bigger picture, to submit our lives to him, to come near to God. And it's really through what Jesus did for us on the cross that we can come near to God, because Jesus paid for our sins on the cross, and we can have a relationship with him. We can enter into his family and enter into his kingdom by putting our faith in what he has done for us. And that allows him to come near to us. And then it puts us in this spot where God is in a place that he can really help us, a spot where we know that there's no temptation that will overtake us, that's too strong for us, where we know that God's going to help us through these tough times. And so that was my journey. I hope that helps you on your journey. Feel free to let me know if you have any questions, if I could help in any way.